What's going on, guys? Billy here, and this week we're out at CES 2020, which means that this video, as well as the others that go up on my channel for the next week, are going to be shot here in this hotel room. So I just want to apologize in advance for the poor audio and the poor lighting. I've got to make it work with what I was able to bring with me on the road. So in today's video, what I want to do is cover the Autel Evo II and give you guys my first hands-on impressions of this brand new drone, or should I say the 3 brand new drones that Autel just released. Now, just to clarify, even though there's 3 different versions of the Autel Evo II making up the Autel Evo II series, the only thing that makes them different is the camera on the front. In terms of the body, the airframe, the design of the drone, it is exactly identical between the Autel Evo II, the Autel Evo II Pro, and the Autel Evo II Dual. That's a mouthful. So what I want to do in today's video is go over the design. Then I want to talk about the specs, because the specs on this drone are incredible. And then finally, I want to talk about the camera, which is also incredible. And at the end, I'll give you guys my impressions. I'll let you guys know what I think of these 3 drones released that make up the Autel Evo II series. A spoiler alert, they're amazing. Now, if you're familiar with the design of the first original Autel Evo, then you'll notice that a lot of the same design cues have been borrowed for this second version, just everything across the board has been made better. We've still got the same orange and black paint job, although this one seems to be a little bit more flat, a little bit more of like a matte finish. We've also got the same foldable legs. Everything across the board seems to be made of like a more premium material. The legs, when they unfold, feel a lot better. The one thing that I do have to say about this drone, and I noticed it immediately, is how big it is. Like, maybe the footprint is about the same between the Autel Evo 1 and the Autel Evo 2, but this drone is thick. It's very chunky, it's very clunky, I guess that's a good way to describe it. If we look here at the Autel Evo 2, the just standard version, it weighs 1,127 grams, and then as we go up from there and add the larger cameras, we begin to go all the way up to a weight of 1,192 grams with the Autel Evo II Dual, and that's a pretty heavy drone. Now, when we take a closer look at the design of the Evo II, it becomes evident why this drone was made larger and why it was made a little bit heavier, because we get a whole lot in return for that very small compromise. So looking at the front side, we get our typical set of dual obstacle avoidance sensors, the forward-facing obstacle avoidance sensors like we've seen on so many drones in the past. We also now have a larger camera system across the board, and because we've got a larger airframe, it can support this larger, this heavier camera that boasts better specs. Now, flipping over to the top side, it's fairly plain, but we do get another set of dual obstacle avoidance sensors towards the back side of the drone. Flipping things over to the bottom side, this is kind of where there's a lot going on. We've got 2 vision positioning sensors, we've got 2 obstacle avoidance sensors, and we've got 2 downward facing LEDs when we're landing this drone in low light situations. Now, on the sides of the drone, we also get another 2, or I guess a total of 4 obstacle avoidance sensors, so that means we get 12 total cameras that are aiding us in avoiding obstacles. We'll get to that in just a couple of seconds. And I think that I found the culprit as to why this drone is so heavy. So on the backside, we've got 2 more obstacle avoidance sensors. We've got a small little LED indicator just above the power button that shows us how much more battery we have left. And when we take the battery out of this drone, it is massive. It's very large. It is 7,100 milliamp hours, and this is why this drone is so heavy, and it's why this drone can fly for so long. Really quickly, just moving away from the drone, for those of you wondering, the remote controller is 100% exactly the same. Maybe the internals have been upgraded to account for the longer range we now get out of the Autel Evo 2 opposed to the Autel Evo 1, but pretty much everything is exactly the same, which is kind of a bummer because I'm not the biggest fan of the Evo's controller. It's nice that it has the built-in screen for those what-if moments, but it just doesn't feel right in my hands. Now look, there's really nothing that makes the Autel Evo 2's design all that special. They didn't do anything groundbreaking, they didn't do anything revolutionary, but I'm not saying that in a bad way, because usually you don't want to fix what's not broken, and foldable drones are very reliable, they're very easy to carry around, the portability is definitely nice, and they are very popular right now. So I'm not saying that in a bad way, But that's not where this drone's strong suit lies, because what I think really separates the Autel Evo from the rest of the pack is its specs as well as the camera specs, which I want to get into right now because this is really just what separates this drone from anything else on the market. So I've got a list here of some of the things I want to cover. I'll put them up here on the screen just so you guys can kind of follow along with me. The speed of this drone, nothing really all that crazy, 45 miles per hour. That's about even with what we see of drones in this class. But what isn't even with other drones in this class, and what totally blows everybody else away, is the flight time of 40 minutes. Now, this is obviously because of the larger battery. The capacity is 7,100 milliamp hours, but also this drone is definitely more efficient than what we've seen from like the original Autel Evo. Of course, it seems a little bit more aerodynamic. The propellers are a little bit different now. They kind of look like butter knives, but yeah. A 40-minute flight time, that's probably one of the most impressive things about this drone. Now, we also get a 9-kilometer range. That comes out to be about 5.6 miles, which is a good bit of distance. And now that we have a longer flight time, we could definitely push this drone further because we have more time to fly. But I don't know how often I'm going to be needing to fly this drone 9 kilometers away or 5.6 miles away. Usually, I keep it close to me. Usually, I like to see what I'm shooting photos and videos of. But this could be really good for first responders, as we now see that drones are becoming used a little bit more in these situations. Now, there are two big features that are added with this drone. The first is omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. So because we now have 12 sensors aiding this drone in flight, we have omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, and also we have 8 gigabytes of internal storage. So we see that they're kind of following suit with DJI, giving us 8 gigs of internal storage on the drone, just like the Mavic 2 series. And also we have those two bottom auxiliary LEDs that kind of allow us to see what's below us when the drone is landing in a low light situation. So we see that they're adding onto this drone what the Mavic 2 has. But just like in all these other categories where they're innovating, I wish they went ahead and gave us more downward-facing LEDs, and I wish they gave us more internal storage, because that would be just another way to set this drone apart from the rest of the competition. Now, everything that we've covered up until this point in the video applies to any version of the Autel Evo 2 that you purchase, because remember, the only difference between the 3 versions is the camera mounted on the front. So that means we get 3 different cameras that all use the same exact airframe. Now, what is the difference between these 3 cameras? Well, the first one is a smaller sensor that gives us a higher resolution count, or a higher megapixel count. This can be found on the base model of the Autel Evo 2 and comes with a 1/2-inch CMOS sensor with which we can shoot 48 megapixel photos. So the maximum resolution is 8,000 by 6,000, which means we can shoot close to 8K video at a bitrate of 120 megabits per second, and we get 10-bit color. Now, the Evo 2 Pro comes with a larger 1-inch CMOS sensor with which we can shoot 20 megapixel photos. The maximum resolution is about 5,472 by 3,648, so it's almost close to the Mavic 2 Pro, but we can shoot 6K video with this camera, which I certainly am not complaining about. We get a max bitrate again of 120 megabits per second. We also get 10-bit color with this drone, but because it's the Pro version, we also get an adjustable aperture between f2.8 and f11, which is great. It's almost a must-have on a drone, in my opinion. Now, moving on, the final camera that we have comes on the Evo 2 Dual. It is a dual sensor camera, so we have one camera that shoots thermal, infrared images, and the other shoots those standard color images. Now, the color camera is the same exact one found on the base model of the Evo 2, while the thermal sensor comes with a resolution of 640 by 512. I was able to snag a little bit of footage of one of the screens they were showing of that thermal camera, and the resolution is really impressive. Something like a Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual has a thermal camera that has a really low resolution. In my opinion, it's almost next to useless, but this is a thermal camera that will actually be incredibly useful for inspections, search and rescue, really, you name it, but it definitely will be a niche product. Guys, the Autel Evo 2 just looks insane, and this really pushes the bar forward. We're always used to seeing DJI set the limit, set, I guess, the standard, and then other companies come behind and they try and reach that standard. Some fall short, some will get close, but this time Autel has totally jumped ahead. They are in first place. They right now have the best drone. I was able to get a little bit of footage of this drone flying. I know there's going to be some of you guys that ask for this. It really isn't the best. It's in a drone cage. We can't get a full understanding of how this drone flies in a confined area like this, but I can say that it is incredibly quiet. It was almost like I was standing right next to it and I didn't even know that it was flying. It was that quiet. Everything about this drone is exciting. Which camera should you purchase? I don't know. Which camera will I buy? Who knows? Which one am I most excited for? I don't know. I'm just really happy that Autel came out with a drone that has kind of left me speechless. I don't really know what to say. On their website, it says it's in production. No prices are set in stone yet. We know what happened with the first Autel Evo. They said it was going to come. It was late. I hope this one isn't late, because if they can follow through with this drone and ship in like a month, it is going to be a fun year for drones. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the Autel Evo II, all the different versions with the different cameras down in the comment section below. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.